Hello and welcome to this tutorial on making your opacity textures and your smoothness texture for PBR in Unity. Now I've created a scene just for this tutorial and I want to go ahead and make a material. So I'm just going to go down to material here. You can create assets by right clicking here, material. I'm just going to call this PBR. We'll call this tutorial 1, and I just want to go into the scene and create a sphere. Let's also make a cube. Just so we can check these with the same material. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put the material in both. And I'll just check that that's happened. Just to close that and close those tabs out, open that up. We can see this is everything about this mesh. We've got the texture, the material on it here, and this is everything else. So we can go ahead and change color. We can change the metallic value and the smoothness value. The source of the smoothness says it comes from Metallic Alpha. We can change this to Albedo Alpha. But as you can see, nothing happens because this is actually depending on the texture, not the actual alpha of the color. So I'm going to change that back to Metallic Alpha. And I'll go into Photoshop and make up a tileable texture. I'm just going to go to New and let's do 1024. 1024. Make sure you're on pixels here and RGB color. Okay, with that done, I just want to make two colors, black and white, and go to Filter, Render Clouds. Render Clouds is a tileable texture. To check that, you can actually unlock the background by clicking the lock there and go up to Filter, Other, Offset. And half of 1024 is 512 by 512. You can see there's no weird cut down the middle. Everything tiles nicely. And what I want to do is just bring this in as our texture. So I'm going to export this or save it. Okay, so there's our texture there, and I'm going to drag this over to Albedo. Right, so putting it straight onto Albedo basically multiplies the grayscale with this color. So where it's white, we see whatever color we give it, and where it's black, we see black because it multiplies it with 0. Alright, so that's that done. Now, how do we make it so that we get this cutout effect? So we're going to change this to cutout, right? And we basically have the cutoff here, but nothing's happening. Now you could go into the texture and change the alpha source from grayscale and check alpha is transparent. That will actually put all the gray into the alpha channel as well. And you can see you now have control of the cutout effect. Now there's a bit of an issue with this because it's not a two-sided shader. You see right through it, but you don't see the other side, like this part here. It's nowhere to be seen. So you would need a two-sided shader for this. There's no way to make up a two-sided shader easily here, but if you go online you could probably find some two-sided shaders. Okay, now that that's done, let's bring in the texture into the metallic. And the smoothness is coming from the metallic alpha channel. So just like we went to the texture and grabbed the alpha from the grayscale, that means if you look at the alpha channel here, you can see it looks just like the Photoshop image, exactly the same. right? But let's say we want to give it our own alpha channel. So I'm just going to go into Photoshop here and go to the channels and add an extra layer. Let's get some text. I'm just going to type in with white alpha channel. Let's try that again. Alpha channel. Okay, I'm just going to move that there. Now, because I've put it straight into the alpha channel here, we don't actually see it. It is there, but the only way to see it is to click on this layer. Okay, so I'm going to have to save this out as a different kind of file, as a Targa file, and let's just call this alpha test. Now it's important to make sure that this is on 32 bits per channel, because there's red, green and blue, each have 8 bits, so that's 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 8 is 24, and the alpha channel is another 8 bits, so it's 4 times 8, which is 32 bits. That gives us the texture we need. I'm just going to import new asset and go to the alpha test texture and click on the material here and drag this one in instead. Now you can see it says alpha channel. So unlike this texture where we've told it to basically generate an alpha channel through the grayscale image, we've gone here and changed it to the alpha source as the input texture alpha. As you can see there, exactly how we made it. Now if you want to use PNGs, you can also do that instead of making it a mask here. I'm just going to copy that out, delete it. You can actually just click on the mask, Alt click on the mask and Control Shift V or paste whatever you want in there. Now that will make this look like this, and even though it will do the same job, to get access to this later on, it's going to be baked. It's basically going to be looking like this. And what you can do is go to Image, go to the Layers, Layer Mask. Let's see, from Transparency. And now that will actually get it back for you. So you can go back in there and add some things. Wherever you paint white, it's going to reintroduce that color. So I can save this as a PNG. We'll call this alpha test PNG. And I'm going to import that. Let's go back to the material here and put alpha test PNG on here. And we've got the same thing, all apart from I've just added that extra part there. Okay, so let's say I put the Targa one here. Let's just rename that to Targa so we know which one is which. Let's say I drag the Targa one in here. You can see now I've got control of the smoothness. And the best way to see this is to point it to the light. Let's just direct the light towards it. Make it a little bit more intense. Back to the material, and you can see if I change the smoothness, it's basically driven through the texture first. So whatever's in the alpha channel here determines how smooth it is, but this is like a secondary multiplier on that effect. And then the alpha cutoff also comes from the alpha channel let's drag this one here into this one. You can see our little blob's gone, and because there's no information there, we don't see any of the metallic effect. Okay, so there's different ways to drive the alpha channel. You can change this also to transparent, and as you can see, we get some unusual effects. Okay, so there is alpha information in there, but what's going on here? Well, let's test this one. You can see where it's white, it's basically showing it as a solid, and we're getting all the variation in here. It doesn't have a kind of cut-off threshold. You also have control of the transparency through this. It's a little bit more confusing. Right, let's say we made this the albedo, or this one. It's got a bit of an unwanted effect, and transparency has other side effects like sort, order, and issues when it tries to render more layers. It might struggle to see through certain objects. That's a little bit more complex, but we're going to look at just the cutout effect. Now fade is also pretty good. Because it does give us a little bit of a dithered effect. But fade doesn't give us the cut-off control we need. It just purely reads the alpha channel. And cutout and fade are the two best options. You can see that fade gives you a bit of a nicer line at the edge compared to cutout. You can play around with these values to get something close. But fade is just a little bit softer. So the smoothness is coming from this alpha channel, and the opacity is coming from this alpha channel. So you've got your color control, and whatever's in the alpha of this texture determines the cutoff or the opacity. And the metallic texture, whatever's in the red, green, blue channel, or really just the red channel, tells you there. If you hover over it, says metallic R and smoothness A. That A means alpha channel, and you can control the smoothness a little bit more there. So you can try these out to get familiar with them, just to see what is doing what. So you can see this one where we got the alpha from the grayscale intensity, this gave us this, whereas these ones, they're just black and white. So we can go ahead and control that even more if we wanted. It is going to affect things, so we need a separate texture. I'm just going to make up a new document, and this would be called our Albedo Cutout. So imagine our color is going to be, so maybe render clouds, right? And let's just do a gradient map and pick something like this. Make sure your image is the correct mode. It should be in RGB mode, RGB color. Okay, let's give us some funky colors there. I'm just going to combine these. I'm going to create a new mask and go in here, and this is going to be the opacity. So wherever I paint white is where we're going to see things. Okay, and that's the way that looks. So that is our alpha albedo cutout. Okay, and then a new document, We'll call this our metal gloss. The metal is stored in the red channel, so basically we can go straight into the channels. Make sure your image is RGB. If you fail to set that here, you can set it up here, image mode RGB. I'm just going to add the alpha channel. Now the alpha channel is going to control how glossy it is. I'm just going to add a gradient in here. Let's do a gradient like this. Let's make sure you're on normal. This one, and full opacity. I'm just going to invert that. So basically the whiter it is, the smoother it is, and the darker it is, the rougher it is. Now we don't have anything in the metalness channel, so I'm going to do another gradient going this way. So you can see that we've got no metallicness, full metallic, and then in the alpha we've got no smoothness, full smoothness. The green and blue are not used at this point, so we're going to save that as our Targa metal gloss. The reason for the Targa is because we use the alpha channel. If we did it the PNG way, all I have to do is copy this out. I can remove it there, go back to the layers, unlock, make a mask, alt click on the mask and Control Shift V, and that's the same difference, but it looks this way. And if you were to reload the file, it would look a bit like this, and the only way to get the mask back is to go to layer, layer mask from transparency. Okay, that way you can read it properly. You can also press Shift and click to temporarily disable the mask, Shift and click again to re-enable it. Okay, it doesn't matter what way you do it, that's just the two options. I'll stick with the Targa method for now. PNGs are smaller files, so you may prefer to do that in the end. I'm going to import the new asset. And let's see, we need our recent files. We've got the Albedo Cutout and the metal gloss. I'll go back to our material here. I'll put the Albedo Cutout here. You can see it looks the way we made it. So Albedo Cutout is doing the job, the alpha channel is doing the cutout, and the color itself, it might look a little bit odd here, but it's just because it's kind of communicating with the alpha channel in this previewer. You don't actually see the full color, but it's all right. Let's go to the material again and just drag in the metal gloss into this, and it says the smoothness is coming from the metallic alpha, so it comes from this texture's alpha channel, and you can see it looks like that. Okay, go back to the material and just make sure this is ramped up full, and our alpha cut off, we can play with that, play with the fade if you want. Another thing that affects fade is the alpha channel in here. Going to put that back to cutout because that's the one I want to show. You can see now what's going on. So this is the smoothness being controlled with the alpha channel in here, and the metalness is coming from the red channel in here. So we can't really change the metallic value. It's kind of hard coded through the texture, right? But we can go ahead and change this for, I don't know, any one of these. We can even get rid of that, just say none, and change it to a normal color so we can see what's happening. So we can see this band in the middle is looking more metallic and also more smooth. So that's the metalness happening here, and then the smoothness happening this way. Okay, the best way to see this is through a reflection probe. So if I create a light reflection probe, just going to move that up a bit and increase the intensity. Then you can really see what the reflection probe is seeing through those values. I'll just reduce that a bit and remove it. Unity already bakes the reflection data, but you can use reflection probes to bake any other reflection data if you want. That's pretty much it for this tutorial. If you've got any questions about this, please feel free to post below, and I'll hope to see you in the next video where I'll cover more things, maybe even some shader graph stuff. Thanks for watching, bye!